Welcome into Second Down on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside Cody Queen and Cam Urshry. Glad to have you alongside on this Wednesday afternoon as we are just 1 day away. I guess what, 25 hours now away from Atlanta Braves baseball right here on ESPN Radio as the Braves open up their season against the Phillies. But before we go any further, Cam, you were super proud of Cody the other day because of his Air Maxes, which are super fresh. I know you are a savant when it comes to shoes. Well, Cody's got another pair of shoes today that he wants you to take a look at. I don't think you'll have quite the same reaction, Cody. If you want to go ahead and put these, I guess, on-sale specials up there. Yeah.
They are for CrossFit. They're only for CrossFit. That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's understandable then.
Thank you. And because my man over here is now, what are you, like a coach now? You are a coach?
I like to expand my horizons, and so
he told me Reeboks are the one to get. I went to like 3 different stores around here. Finally,
I tell you those Reeboks though.
There's only Reeboks.
Like I spent like $120 on my Reeboks.
$20.
And he spent about $100 less on his. But I was like, man, if you're gonna show him, look, if he's gonna love you at your best with your Air Maxes on, he's got to love you at your worst with your $20 bargain shopping.
My shoe game's on fleek.
Your bargain shopping shoes. But again, a lot to get to today. A lot of impressive pro days from a lot of guys who I think are going to take them really high in this draft. Some guys who maybe had not great ends to their season, but definitely improved their draft stock today. Going to dive into that. Some interesting notes from Andre Adelson and David Hale about the ACC and staying competitive in the Power 5 that we're going to dive into, and then talk some Braves baseball as well. Coming up at 3:20, Ben Ingram, one of the voices of the Braves Radio Network. He was the guy on site for all of spring training for the Atlanta Braves. He's going to swing by and talk some Braves baseball with us. As again, tomorrow, opening day, Max Fried, Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Dansby Swanson, all the boys getting it going again for the A. You got a sweet new hats rocking this year, Cody. They're going to honor Hank Aaron on the infield.
Oh, really?
On the back of their hats.
That.
Yeah, on the back of their hats. So I'm really excited about that. Before we go any further, Cam, I can't keep doing this with the Atlanta Hawks, man. 1 week it's up, 1 week it's down. It's been very down. What's going on with the Hawks?
8 game. They came off an 8-game win streak. They're still a young team, but playoff picture. They're still in the playoff picture. 6 seed. That's all you can ask for. They was at 12 about a month ago. Now they're at 6. They'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Define all right, Cam, because every little post I get from the Hawks every night now is, hey, it was close. Fourth quarter got us, but we'll be back. I mean, how many of those can you go through?
Not too many, but they're coming off a tough road trip from the rest. They're about to come out east, get back to it, play some of these weaker teams in the East, build that record. They'll make the playoffs and be just fine.
Define just fine.
I think where they're at right now, middle of the pack, 4th, 5th, and 6th, since it's so thin and it's so close. What the city just needs is the Hawks to make it back to the playoffs.
You get smoked by the Nuggets a couple of nights ago. Got beat by the Suns last night. They did beat the Warriors back on Friday. But before that, you lost to the Sacramento Kings. So, like, you're now back below 500, Cam. So, like, I'm just saying, maybe I'm just trying to do a reverse jinx, right? Because whenever I talk and then say that they're doing well, then they start losing again. So I'm trying to hit a reverse jinx for the Hawks there. But, yeah, they fall last night to the Suns 117-110. Not a great performance by Trae Young. I mean, some points, Cam, but John Collins gets hurt as well. Trae Young not overly efficient. I mean, when are the Hawks going to be back to full strength?
Now that I don't know. This team is always injured, and Trae Young struggling a little bit because this coach is finally telling him, "Okay, you have to play some defense. When you play defense, your offensive game is going to go down a little bit, efficiency, all of that. It's just a work in progress, but they look a lot better than what they did a month ago."
All right, and then of course the news of the day, really in the world of football, a ton of pro days happening. Cincinnati having their pro day. Notre Dame having their pro day, LSU having their pro day, but the one everybody was really paying attention to was at the University of Florida because you have some freaks working out over there. Kyle Pitts, Marco Wilson, Kadarius Toney doing their pro days today, and Kyle Pitts was the story of the day, but I think Marco Wilson really was pushing him for that. I think a lot of people were surprised with what the corner out of Florida was able to do. The guy who famously showed off his shot put ability when he whipped a shoe against LSU and derailed Florida's season. But Kyle Pitts checked in at 6'5.5", pretty big, 245 pounds, and then proceeded to run a 4.440. Now, for relevance, because I know a lot of people like to say, you're at your own pro day, you're at your own home track, it's all hand timed, it's not laser timed. How impressive is that really? Well, a guy running on the same track with the same hand timers, Kadarius Toney, ran a 4.41. So one of the most elusive electric wide receivers in college football was only 0.03 seconds faster than Kyle Pitts, a guy who is a good 7-8 inches taller than him and outweighs him by at least 50 pounds. That Cam is impressive to me.
Yeah, dude is a freak. He might be the first receiver off the board. I would not be shocked. He's a freak. I hope he goes to Miami. I think Devontae Smith might be going, but Kyle Pitts he's just a freak, man. 6'5", 240.
I like this. I like the flip there in Cam's mind because he said he might be the first receiver off the board there. Yeah. Technically a tight end, Cody. And he got measured out, and he has the longest wingspan for any tight end in NFL history, and has the longest wingspan in the NFL over the last 20 years. Over all the wide receivers, all the defensive ends, everybody. Kyle Pitts has the longest wingspan of anybody in the NFL over the last 20 years.
Imagine him playing DN.
Why would I imagine him playing DN when I can imagine him playing tight end?
I'm just saying, you go up, you hit the tight end or something like that, and you just got to reach your arm out. Yeah. Like, that's how long that guy is. Like, and all you have to do is throw him the ball, put his hands up.
I'm sure Todd Grantham has made plenty of efforts when his time at Florida. Like, this guy's not a tight end; he's a defensive end. He's an outside linebacker. You guys are wasting your time with him at tight end. Yeah. But I think Cam, he's earned his way now, and I think he probably was before. But after today's pro day, I would not be shocked to see him top 5. I don't think he goes past 6.
Yeah, I was big on Devontae Smith, but he's definitely sold me. When you run a 4.4 at that size, that height, it's hard to pass that up. And he's going to be that. It's no way he could be a bust. He's going to be
perspective, Jamar Chase ran a 4.4.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, I think, like unofficial is like a 4.39. For
Chase.
Like,
it's some freaks in there.
And look at Kyle Pitts and how lanky I know that's not like the best.
Yeah, and I think the biggest mistake in NFL. I think the biggest mistake an NFL team can make when you get him is trying to pack on weight.
Yeah,
right? Why would you try to make him into a Darren Waller when he's his own thing, right? Darren Waller usually plays about 260, 265. Just let Kyle Pitts stay at 245 and be able to run a 4.4, right? He's still 245 pounds, and who are you going to match up on him? A linebacker? Good luck. You're going to match up on with a safety? Good luck. Put him outside one-on-one with the corner. Ask Tyson Campbell how that worked out down in Jacksonville, right? I mean, he did it to those 2 Georgia guys who were bordering on early second-round picks there, and Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes. Kyle Pitts ate him alive. So I would not mess with him at all. And NFL teams are famous for doing that. They get a guy in and they try to change who they are. I'm letting Kyle Pitts just play like Kyle Pitts is. As we mentioned, Kadarius Toney, 4.4, 140, which – yeah, you want him to be fast over those 40 yards, but that's not where Kadarius Toney makes his money. Kadarius Toney is quicker than he is fast, and he's still very fast. Like 4.41 is real fast, but inside of a 10-yard box, like good luck keeping up with him. The separation he's able to get with his route running is where he makes his money, but also checked in with an 11-foot 4-inch broad jump, which is just nasty from a guy his size. And then, like I said, Marco Wilson is the guy who I really thought stood out. We knew Kyle Pitts was going to do something crazy with his different metrics that he's been able to put out already. But Marco Wilson, a lot of people are a little bit down on. He was an amazing freshman for Florida, and then still played really solid, but it wasn't that same hype level for him the past couple of seasons. He checks in. He also had an 11-foot 4-inch broad jumps, comes out and puts up 26 reps on the bench. Oof. For a DB, that's pretty damn good, and then hits it with a 4.35 40. That's all amazing, but the stat of the day for Marco Wilson, 43.5-inch vertical.
Dude, boy got bunny.
43.5-inch vertical. That's like one PJ Zuko.
He might need to come hoop. He might need to be a hooper or something. 4.35.
Yeah, he went to the top. He went to like the top of it, like just about, and like I got it up on my Twitter. I have like a freeze frame of him at like full extension. It's ridiculous. That would be tied for 9th in the history of the combine.
Are we at the height of like human evolution?
Every time you think you are, they do something else.
That's
crazy.
true. Yeah, that's true.
Wow, he got high. I see it now. This is wow.
What is going What is going on?
Cam, identify the shoes that Marco Wilson's wearing, because I guarantee you they're about to sell out because everybody's going to think that's the reason he was able to hit that vertical.
It's some Nikes, but good gosh, he got high. Nah, that's weird. That's kind of scary how high he just got.
As we mentioned, though, Ja'Marr Chase, he hits a 4.39 on his 40. I do think that was funny because he sat out this past year, and Ed Orgeron had to like welcome him back in and be like, "It would have been nice to have you this past year, but
yeah,
good luck in the pros, my guy." He obviously, I think, going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Maybe not the first pass catcher. Maybe Kyle Pitts is the first pass catcher, but I think Ja'Marr Chase has earned that. Devonta Smith going to be right behind him, but just in terms of size, speed, what he's able to do, he's a true, I think, #1 receiver in the NFL in every offense. So I think Ja'Marr Chase probably the first guy off the board. A ton to get to today, though. Going to dive into some Braves baseball, and as I mentioned, interesting article around the ACC and their competitiveness inside the Power 5 from Andrea Adelson and David Hale. We'll dive into that as well. More to come here on Second Down. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. We, of course, presented to you by the Uniform Source. The Final Fours are both set in the women's side. You have number 1 South Carolina going up against number 1 Stanford, and number 3 Arizona going up against number 1 UConn. And on the men's side, number 2 Houston versus number 1 Baylor, and number 11 UCLA from the first 4 to the Final 4 going up against Gonzaga. UCLA is only the second team to go from the first 4 all the way to the Final 4, but it also just leads me back to what we've been saying since the jump. Whoever seeded this tournament was just like throwing darts blindly at the 68 available teams. I'm like, yeah, there you go. That looks about right.
Yeah, they were horrible this year. Don't know why UCLA and like Michigan State were 11 seeds in Syracuse. But hey, that's the tournament. It's been a great tournament, though. I really have liked it. It's been a good tournament.
Can anybody beat Gonzaga?
Baylor. They're the only team that
you think Baylor?
Yeah, you do like Baylor.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, I picked Baylor and Gonzaga to be in the championship, and I picked Gonzaga. But heck yeah, Davion Mitchell, Jared Harper, and them boys, they play defense. They do. And they could give Baylor fits. But UCLA and Houston, respectfully, they have no chance against Baylor at all.
Yeah, Liberty
against Gonzaga.
And Mitchell there out of the 9-1-2 leading Baylor out there. I think it's going to be a fascinating Final Four. I think UCLA can give Gonzaga everything they want, right? I mean, look, I won't be surprised if it's a 20-point blowout, but UCLA plays a really interesting style of defense, and they just have guys that can get hot and score as a multitude of teams have found out on their run to the Final Four.
Yeah, they play good defense, well coached by Tom Crean, who used to always be at Cincinnati. And Jute Sang, who's their best player, he was at Kentucky last year riding the bench. That's crazy. And now he's the leading scorer on the Final Four team. But they're going to play hard, but Gonzaga is just, they're so good. I watched it yesterday. I'm like, wow. I haven't seen a team play basketball the right way like that in college basketball part of my whole life, the right way. They're not the best team, but the right way, though.
UCLA, to me, has one of the better chances. I know they're ranked 11. I don't understand it. They have like the best defense that's left in college basketball. You got to think they played Michigan. Michigan scored at least 76 points every game in a tournament. They held them to 49.
Yeah,
they shut them down, dude. The way they play defense, like you were saying, is amazing. So I think UCLA. I think they might pull this one out.
And then on the flip side of it, the women's side, Final Four as well. How about South Carolina, right? A team that didn't have a ton of historic success in women's basketball, all of a sudden has become a superpower in this sport. They beat Texas 62-34 in the Elite Eight and didn't allow them to score in the fourth quarter.
And the thing is with that, the number 1 overall pick for the WNBA plays for Texas right now. It's Charlie Collier.
Yeah,
she is amazing, and she's going to be the next big thing. Apparently, shut her down, dude. They shut her down.
Yeah, 62-34. Like literally, when you go look at the box score, you have 7 points, 15 points, 12 points, and then a dash.
Oh,
like that's you don't want that. It looks like they haven't got a chance to play the bottom of the ninth yet. Like that's what it looks like in the scoreboard right now. Dawn Staley has done an unbelievable job with that South Carolina program. Any picks from you guys, or you want to wait till Friday to do that?
I can give picks.
Come on, let's do it today.
Give me your picks for both of the Final Four.
Okay. You want to go first, Cody?
Yeah, I will go first. So we have, let's see. I got Gonzaga going all the way.
Sure.
So that is mine. Then I think it's gonna be a good game against UCLA. I really do think it is. I do love UCLA, but Gonzaga.
Do you love UCLA?
Is that I do.
You say things a lot.
I love them.
You say things a lot, but like
no, I don't really care about it.
I was about to say you say things a lot. Like I love.
I'm picking the upset Houston over Baylor, which I'm wrong. My bracket. I'm towards the bottom. Yeah. So do not trust my picks on this one. Gonzaga and Houston.
The Bennett's riding high at the top of the ESPN Coastal Challenge. I think BJ's mom has locked up the win. Like I don't think anybody can
that's her. What BJ was saying. I think it's impossible for her to lose. Yeah.
Just because the picks are similar from here on out, I don't think anybody can catch her. She got 3 out of the Final 4 right. I mean, come on.
Had Michigan won. Michigan doesn't have Livers. That's their best player. They had him.
You got to learn this, man. You can't trust Michigan in games.
You can't. Yeah,
you can't. But I'll go Baylor. and Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga win by 2. And on the women's side, have y'all seen Paige Buckers?
Oh yeah, she's the most followed collegiate athlete.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. She's really good. I have them playing South Carolina, but this South Carolina team is good. Wait till just wait till South Carolina win it all next year, though. I know that.
You think South Carolina's going to win it all?
No, next year, not this year, though. Next year, they have 3 of the top 5 recruits in the country.
What is she, Cam? A freshman or a sophomore?
Freshman, yeah.
Freshman, and she has 741,000 followers on Instagram.
It's crazy.
Man, that's nice, son. I wish
741,000. Yeah, but name, image, likeness. That does. Yeah, they wouldn't make any money off of having 741,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah, I'll go Baylor Gonzaga. I don't want to. I know it's boring, but Baylor.
It's not boring.
Baylor's really good, and I don't think anybody's beating Gonzaga. And then on the women's side, I'll go South Carolina, UConn. Gino Auriemma and that UConn squad, solid. Don Staley in South Carolina. They've built a superpower over there at South Carolina. So I think that'll be a really fun matchup. You kind of have the old blood of UConn and Gino over there coaching versus Don Staley, who's really becoming one of the staple names right now. If you did a Mount Rushmore of women's college basketball coaches, I think Don Staley, you probably have to put her up there right now.
Or of coaches in general.
Just inside the top 4 right now. I think you got to get a title first. I think there are too many coaches in general who have national championships already before you put her up there for national titles, including Gino Auriemma, the guy she's going up against, has a bunch of national championship titles. So not quite yet, but I did want to dive into this story from ESPN.com about the ACC. Speaking of basketball, this will kind of correlate into that. Andre Adelson and David Hale interviewed a bunch of football coaches from the ACC. The ACC has a new commissioner, Jim Phillips, and just comparing fiscal reports, right? Because the ACC probably had the worst season last year cumulatively, right? You still have Clemson, which was the torchbearer, and I guess technically Notre Dame was in your conference, even though they were kind of just, like Kevin said, a mercenary using your conference for a year and are now back out of it. You technically had 2 teams make the college football playoff, but the rest of the conference had pretty abysmal seasons, right? And so I'd say maybe them or the Pac-12 for bottom of the Power 5, right? And so Andre Adelson and David Hale dove into that, and the biggest thing that they kept coming back to was the competitive balance in terms of the amount of money these schools receive every year from their conferences to allow them to be competitively viable in terms of facilities, being able to spend money on recruiting, right? What Georgia last year spent $3 million on recruiting, just the exorbitant amounts of money that these programs have. And so they put it out there, and on average, the ACC pays out about half as much money every single year to their schools as the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big Ten on average pays out $54 million, and this is from 2018, 2019. We don't have the 2020 reports yet. 2018, 2019, $54 million for the Big Ten schools. So that's not just Ohio State. That's every school in the Big Ten. That's what they paid them out from their TV revenues and all the other income sources that they earned. SEC was $45 million. Big 12 was $37 million, and $3 million ahead of the ACC was the Pac-12.
Really?
At $30 million. Now, the SEC's number is about to go up exponentially because it hasn't been completely released yet, but all the reports out there are that the SEC and ESPN have a deal in place somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 years for $3 billion. So you're not going to have that 3:30 cream of the crop SEC game on CBS anymore. It'll be on ABC or ESPN. That's where you'll see the Iron Bowl, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Florida, theoretically, when this deal kicks off and you run up at the end of ESPN's current deal with CBS. I think CBS is still going to have some rights to some games, but it will not be the first pick like they have right now. Currently, CBS can just go Alabama, LSU is a good game, and then, all of a sudden, Ole Miss is number 3 in the country, and they're playing Alabama. We want that game too. Like that's what CBS could do right now. I know Florida, Georgia, Iron Bowl, Alabama, LSU are usually pretty much locks for CBS every year. That's just the ones that they're going to go ahead and go to. But that will not be the case once this deal kicks in with Disney and the SEC. But just going back to that competitive balance, Dino Babers head coach at Syracuse, was quoted as saying, "You're about to run a 4x100 relay, and your leg won. So you're the first guy out of the blocks getting going on this race. You pump in your arms, you slowly raise up, and you see someone's already on the curve, which means you're getting your ASS whooped. That's how I feel when we're chasing the SEC and the Big Ten when it comes to the money. Basically saying by the time we're out of the starting blocks, they're already around the first curve.
Yeah,
is how far ahead the SEC is. Another anonymous ACC coach was quoted as saying, if we don't get our TV contract in the ballpark of the SEC and the Big Ten, there will be no level playing in the Power Five. It's just going to continue to separate as it has. And there's a few interesting thoughts I have from this. Number one, how is Clemson able to do what Clemson's able to do? And if you ask a lot of people, they'd say Clemson doesn't have the crazy facilities of LSU, Alabama, Georgia, right? If they were to play in the SEC, their facilities would probably be more comparable to Kentucky's in terms of their football facilities, which not bad, but not elite, right? Florida State, BJ's told me this. They sent out emails last year and put up social media posts after they had to cancel their game with Clemson due to COVID concerns. They had to ask for money from fans to give money back to the fans and refunds for their tickets. Florida State, 3-time national champion program, won a national championship in 2013. So, Cam, what this really opened my eyes to is we think Miami, we think Florida State, we think Clemson, Virginia Tech, we think all these schools, and we're like, ACC is right on the level playing field, right? They should be able to compete with these other conferences year in and year out. Why has there been such a downturn in the ACC when in reality, this isn't a level playing field? Florida State isn't the predominant program in the state of Florida. It's Florida. When you're talking about getting grant money, getting arguing for TV deals in terms of their own conference, who do you think is a bigger pool, the University of Florida or Florida State? It's Florida.
Yep.
And it's probably not really close. So to me, Cam, more so than anything, it kind of opened my eyes to this is not a level playing field. Call it Power 5 or not. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, they're playing with different chips than the ACC.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked by what you said because they have some historic teams in the ACC. Florida State, Miami. When you think Florida State, Deion Sanders, Miami, those amazing teams in the early 2000s. So I'm like, how are they not generating the money, even though the ACC's play is a little bit down, and then Clemson's on the rise?
I think when you get down to it, Cody, and this is something BJ said, when you look at the SEC, think about the schools that are in there. You have the State School of Mississippi, the State School of Alabama, the State School of Tennessee, the State School of Georgia, the State School of South Carolina, the State School of Florida, right? Probably missing one or two in there. State School of Kentucky. I mean, you literally have the University of Kentucky, right? And so birthed from that is not only the grant money those schools are getting, and so they don't necessarily have to pull money away from athletics to pay for other things. Inside of that is you have the inherent fan base that maybe even never stepped foot in the city that school's located in, right? I mean, I can say the same thing for the Big Ten, right? How many Penn State fans, how many Ohio State fans, how many Michigan fans are out there that probably have never even been to a game at that school, definitely didn't even attend that school, right? Versus the flip side of it, Florida State's great, right? Miami's really good. Clemson's really good, obviously, but how big of a fan base compared to, say, Mississippi State? How big do you think that fan base is compared to Wake Forest?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'd say it's probably exponentially bigger than Wake Forest fans base, right? Vanderbilt, the laughing stock, I'd say usually in football at least, they're really good usually in basketball and baseball, but in football, how big do you think their football fan base is compared to Boston College? Right? And so when you start getting down and comparing it, yes, you have Clemson, yes, you have Florida State. Cam, Miami, they were Miami in the Big East, right?
Yeah.
When you have those early 2000s, that's Big East Miami, right?
Oh yeah.
That's not ACC Miami. Now Florida State, BJ said, corrected me on that one. They won their 3 national championships as members of the ACC.
Yep.
Right? That was them. But Florida State's also not I don't want to say it's not a historically great program because they've won 3 national championships, but in reference to 50s, 60s, 70s, Florida State wasn't great until really the 90s. They're still a relatively new program. So I think the success of Florida State and the success of Clemson, throw Georgia Tech in there because Georgia Tech won an Orange Bowl. They won a couple of ACC titles with Paul Johnson. Some of those schools, I think, have boosted our view of what the ACC really is, which is a conference that was really built to be a basketball conference.
110%.
If you're being 1,000% honest about it, Cam, you look at the ACC. Why do you go out and get North Carolina? Right? It's basketball. Duke. Right? It's basketball. Florida State. I'd be interested to look this up, Cody, but I don't believe the football coach and the basketball coach get paid very differently down there. So, I mean, Cam, when you look at the ACC, more so a basketball conference than a football conference, but does that behoove you in terms of financials for your conference going forward?
You are right. It is. They grabbed Syracuse to come down there for basketball and stuff like that. So, yeah, you're correct. I'll give you that, but it's still just shocking that, the fan base with the ACC and stuff like that. I thought fan bases in college was just like totally different. You have a larger amount of fans here and there, but the ACC is struggling, like you're saying. It's kind of shocking.
Yeah, Leonard Hamilton back in beginning of the month signed a 5-year contract extension worth $11.5 million. So he's getting paid a little over $2 million a year, Cody. Yeah, annual salary $2.25 million. It can get up to around 2.7. Then Mike Norvell, you had it up, Cody, is getting paid about $3.5 million every year. So roughly the same. I mean, not roughly the same. Obviously, it's $1 million more, but closer than what Tom Crean and Kirby Smart are making, right? And Mike Krzyzewski, I don't even want to know what his contract is. I don't know if they have to release that because Duke's a private school. Yeah. But I know my man's getting paid up at Duke, and probably a lot more than what Coach Cut is getting paid at Duke. So with the success that Clemson has had, and having Notre Dame is kind of like the weird cousin that like comes to the family reunions, but you don't see him at all the other family functions. I think the status of the ACC has been elevated a little bit, when in reality, once you get past pretty much one, because Miami hasn't been great recently, Florida State has been really bad recently. Once you get past one, it's not a great football conference right now.
Well, yeah,
and but that gap's probably going to get bigger.
And then you start having basketball teams that are actually starting to get good at football, like North Carolina. Like that's not. It's so different, So it's obviously going to mess with the money whenever you're having these powerhouses that you usually have are not powerhouses anymore, like FSU and stuff like that. And then you start having these football programs that don't make as much money, all that stuff start becoming good, and your powerhouses are at the bottom of the conference. You know what I mean? So if that messes with the money also, and then like you're saying about the fan base for SEC, fan base of SEC is a cult following compared to anything else. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say compared to anything else. I mean,
to any other fandom.
I would not. I would say Ohio State fans are just as rabid about their football as.
Yeah, but you Georgia, may right? be able to collect a few teams, but collectively as SEC of most SEC teams, maybe one or two are not. I think
you're discounting the Big Ten and the Big 12 there, because their fan bases are equally rabid. I mean, Texas, Oklahoma, like those are massive fan bases out there for those football teams, right? Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, those are massive football fan bases. I mean, pretty much control that quarter of the country up there when it comes to college football fandom. I mean, those are hugely rabid fan bases. So I understand what you're saying with the SEC. It's
of like the Northeast.
It's weird.
They're more NFL fans.
The whole mascot. PJ's
lived down here. All right, PJ, tell me about your time in Pennsylvania when you were like 6.
No, I need to get PJ's perspective on this, because you can't say
he's never lived there as an adult.
PJ cares more about the NFL than he does about Penn State football. That's
because he was raised down south. That's a huge generalization.
Football. Cody just said people say in Pennsylvania would care more about the NFL than they do about Penn State football. Is that true in your experience? Or do you feel like the Penn State fans are just as rabid about their college football as, say, a Georgia fan is about theirs?
You got more Steelers fans than you have Penn State.
Depends on where you are, but
most of the state probably college.
I don't believe that.
You literally play the games in state college, Cody.
I also grew up in state college, so
exactly.
So you're gonna say I don't believe him to the guy who grew up in Pennsylvania.
He moved here when he was like.
All
8 or
right,
something
Cody
like
should
that.
now.
I
Cody
don't- I
should
don't
be a jerk
understand
to
that.
not agree with PG. We got more to come. We'll come back. Second down on ESPN Radio. This is exactly where I thought today was going to go. Talking Penn State football here on second down. But I had to bring PJ in here because Cody's in here slandering the good name of the Big Ten, saying the SEC, it just means more. And, I mean, Cody's completely bought into the propaganda of the SEC. I mean, how much is Greg Sankey paying you, Cody? But, PJ, I want to say, I mean, obviously it's different parts of the country, right? And in the South, we like to feel like we're nuts about our college football fandom, right? I mean, we love our Braves baseball, and every now and then you can catch us watching the Falcons game on Sundays for the most part. And then once they're 1-7, you can count the rest of those Sundays off. But it's college football pretty much 365. Now you go up to the Pennsylvania, for example. Philadelphia 76ers are fairly relevant up there.
Yeah.
Pirates, not so much, but the Phillies have won World Series in the past.
Right.
And I'd say it's probably Penn State football and Steelers and Eagles football have to be the three lifebloods of Pennsylvania football. But when it comes to like just fervor around one of those sports, where do you feel like it skews more towards?
Yeah, I think mainly as we were talking during the break, actually Cody just finished a drink. I think that was probably some of the Kool-Aid, some of the SEC Kool-Aid.
Oh, yep.
But a little bit of that. But no, I think the most popular, probably most passionate fans in Pennsylvania as a whole is our Penn State football fans. And I think generally when you talk about blue blood football type of programs, which that's what we love about college football, right? Is the pageantry and the tradition, but also how insane the fans are and how committed
how many people
are
you fitting? State college
they actually changed gave more comfortable seatings and things like that to Beaver Stadium recently. I think it's down to like 106.
Down to 106.
But it was up to at one point 110,000, and I believe at one point during a whiteout Ohio State Penn State game in like 2005 or 2006, it got up to like 111,000, which obviously shouldn't be happening by any means, but it's just people crawling into the stadium on their hands and knees and watching from wherever they can. But no, actually got a quote, shout out from my brother Mario there on Twitter too. Talking during Penn State home games in the fall, State College becomes the third largest city in Pennsylvania.
Which, like, you just gloss past that, but let's think about that. I think I have this correct, Cody. I think it's, in terms of population size, it's Atlanta, Macon, and Savannah, or you might be able to throw maybe Columbus in there for Georgia instead, but just say Atlanta, Macon, Savannah. That's like saying on a college football Saturday, Georgia passes one of those three.
Right.
Like passes Savannah in terms of population in Athens.
Yep.
Like that's what he's saying. In Pennsylvania, who I believe has a bigger population than the state of Georgia, no?
But it's I'm sure it's close, but it might be. I mean, that's the thing. You got to think you have two major cities in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and those are the only two that are in front of State College on Saturday, of course. But I mean, you also have big cities all around. You have Harrisburg, which is the state capital. You have Hershey, which is a big city up there in Pennsylvania, and several other big cities as well. So that is huge.
Yeah, Pennsylvania has 2 million more people in it than Georgia.
There you go. And that's the main thing. Basically, you have two Atlantas, right? I mean, to a lesser extent, but
sure.
I mean, at two ends of the state. But with that being said, like, because of as I was talking about, when you have a blue blood football team, tons of tradition, tons of success in their history in a state, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the biggest sport in that state. I think you have several examples of that around the country, and Pennsylvania is one of those. I do have a lot of family, and I grew up, right there in the State College area, but there's plenty of family as well that live a few hours away, and even talking to them,
the best way to do this, what do they get the most mad about? Like when Ben Roethlisberger blows a playoff game, or James Franklin loses to Ohio State again?
Oh, of course, it's Franklin. Yeah, it's when they were on a 4th and 5 against Ohio State on
you're a draw play. What the hell are you doing, James Franklin?
No, that's it. We're still hearing about that. But at the end of the day, like, they go out there, lose a playoff game, and we have 6 Super Bowls. Who cares? So I mean,
wow.
that's how it goes. That's how the
brought
conversation
you on here
goes.
as a friend.
And that's how the conversation goes. Of course, at the end of the day, they're going to get over that, I feel like, a lot quicker. But I mean, that's just how it is. And it's also, I understand from the outside looking in, thinking Pittsburgh, the Steelers specifically, are probably the bigger brand and bigger fan base in Pennsylvania. But you got to think too, you think that because of how big the brand of the Steelers are, you have fans in LA that are filling the stadium when the Chargers play the Steelers with terrible towels and whatnot, just because the brand is so big. And because let's face it, I mean, so
I wouldn't say the Steelers are the bigger brand in the state. They're probably one of the biggest brands sports wise in the country in
the country, yeah, that's what I mean.
But that's not talking a microcosm in the state.
Right. In the state itself,
do you think there's more Notre Dame fans in Indiana or just spread out across the country? Because I think if you took the total cumulatively across the country and combine that versus the Notre Dame fans just in Indiana, there's more just spread out in the other 49 states.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
I mean, 40, or it should be 50 because, Puerto Rico should be a state. What's up? But that being said, I just, Cody was dismissing you guys, and I wasn't going to let that fly. I know.
But that's my thing. Like,
no, outside of Indiana.
That's my thing, though. As I understand from people who live out of state why that would be a misconception, because the brand of the Steelers that big, and over the stretch of the entire country, you have so many fans.
It's like Georgia
that's
football
completely
fans
understandable.
that are Duke basketball fans, right? And I'm sure, and I know plenty of people from Atlanta that have never been to Pittsburgh in their life and grew up in the suburbs of Lawrenceville and are somehow Steelers fans because the Steelers are just always really good. They're just one of those teams in the NFL, much like, I'm sorry to do this, but much like the Cowboys, where they jump aboard the bandwagon because they're always really good, right? But they don't have the same passion as a young PJ and Mario who grew up in State College and live and die and breathe by Penn State football, just like we do about our football in the South, and very much like Cody does for UCF and Florida, and I guess LSU is his team now. So that's how passionate he is. He has so much passion, he can cover all three of those teams there, PJ. So don't let him come in here when he has no love for any team in general, with the way and the passion and the fervor you have for Penn State. We got to take a break. PJ, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
And we'll be right back. That was your yearly Big Ten talk here on Second Down. That's it, PJ. I'm sorry. No more.
You guys changed my mind though. Okay,
got-
I will agree. I always forget how big that state is and how rural it is. You know?
Yeah. I mean, what was that? How what it is?
How rural.
Rural.
Yeah.
Just got to kind of roll off the tongue there. Big show coming
No,
up
I
today.
don't talk like this.
Okay, so first you were our ally, and now you're making fun of us. Is that
No,
how it
I
goes?
love the Southern
Mr.
accent.
Mr. UCF, Florida LSU fan. Get the
Hey,
hell out.
it's LSU fan.
No,
today.
yeah,
Okay.
but also a Rockies fan, Orlando Magic fan. Yours is all.
I might go to Rockies game. When I'm out there.
all over the place. Big show coming up today on 3 and Out. We'll catch up with Ben Ingram from the Braves Radio Network as opening day is tomorrow. We'll have a special hour-long pregame show getting you ready for that. Also, Max Starks coming up next right here on ESPN Radio.